Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our All In 2026 Pathways to a Sustainable Future webinar series. My name is Olivia Burns. I'm an environmental specialist with Clark County's Office of Sustainability, supporting the All In Clark County initiative. Welcome to our 7th webinar of the series. This month's topic is driving environmental, social, and economic sustainability. Joining us today to present is Lauren Boytel, Director of ImpactNV. Before I pass it over to Lauren to get us started on ImpactNV's initiatives, I will share a few tips to enhance your presentation experience and navigate the website. You can translate the entire meeting page and/or the live audio into another language by clicking the Translate button and selecting a language from the Translate drop-down menu. Closed captions are also available for this presentation by clicking the CC button on the bottom right corner of the presentation page. Viewers may call in to hear audio by dialing the 855 number located above the presentation page. Another way to interact is by putting comments and questions in the chat box next to the presentation live stream. If you think of a question during the presentation, please put them there and we'll have time to review those at the end. Lastly, if you have any difficulties viewing or hearing the presentation at any time, please refresh your meeting page. Now I'll pass it over to Lauren to get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Let's see. Okay, I'm hoping everyone can see that okay.
Looks good, thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you again. My name is Lauren Boytel. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to Clark County's Office of Sustainability for inviting ImpactNV to be part of the All-In webinar series. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about our organization and our programming and what we do and how you can get involved. When most people hear the word sustainability, they immediately think about water, maybe clean energy, maybe recycling. Those things are definitely important, but sustainability is much broader. At ImpactNV, we always talk about what we call the triple bottom line of sustainability, which means that a truly sustainable community is one that is environmentally healthy, socially resilient, and economically strong. So for more than 15 years, ImpactNV has worked to bring those three pillars together through collaboration, convening, policy leadership, and implementation. This is a image of our guiding principles. This is how we really define that triple bottom line of sustainability specifically for Nevada through several pillars: economic prosperity, transportation and emissions, a thriving community, health and well-being, the built and natural environment, preservation of our resources, and clean energy. And that's how we guide our work and our vision for Nevada and what we support for all residents. I wanted to talk a little bit about how we work, our sort of model of collaboration. Since we were founded in 2009, we have been a public-private partnership that works to drive change in the state through collaboration and convening, as I mentioned. And so this is just sort of a snapshot of our model and how we work. We don't try to own every solution. Instead, we really bring together government, businesses, nonprofits, researchers, community organizations to solve problems together. And our role is to build partnerships, convene all the stakeholders, create accountability, implement projects, measure the outcomes, and steward our resources. So hopefully you'll see how we do those things while I go through some of our programming. I wanted to start with environmental sustainability. Our biggest environmental sustainability program right now is our tree program. We have a 10-year, 100,000 tree program that we launched on Earth Day of 2022. And the goal is to plant 100,000 trees in the state over the next 10 years. That is a collaborative goal for the state. So that means all of our planting partners that we work with in the state really accelerating their goals, making sure that we are helping helping catalyze additional tree plantings and achieving that number together. We are currently at just under about 14,000 trees, so the trajectory is good, but we do have a bit of a ways to go. So looking forward to that increasing even further. We do plant only in communities with low tree equity scores, and that this is a map of a tree equity score here on the right. Basically, what that means is communities that have disproportionately low access to green spaces will have a lower tree equity score. And so we plant in the areas that need it the most and have the highest extreme heat vulnerability. We only plant drought tolerant, heat tolerant, and adaptive species trees. So we have developed a list of about 12 to 15 species of trees that are most adaptive to our climate, our changing weather patterns, and have the best chance at survivability. And so you can see some of our metrics here. As I mentioned, we try to measure our outcomes and measure our impact. This is just for 2025, the environmental and social impact of our tree program. Basically that we have sequestered about 250 metric tons of CO2, saved about 15 to 30 million gallons of water compared to turf. We have planted in 38 public parks and increased the tree canopy in those areas. And we worked with over 100 community volunteers to get those trees in the ground. In the top right of that image, and this image is from our annual report, and I'll talk about that at the end, but it can be found on our website. You can see that basically those parks were in 36 different census blocks in Nevada and has directly improved quality of life for just under 40,000 residents of those communities. Additionally, I think it's important to note we have a really high tree survivability rate. Because of our model, we currently plant in public spaces where there is urban foresters, municipal foresters, parks and recs teams to support pruning and maintenance and making sure the trees are being taken care of. We have a 97% tree survivability rate. And so in addition to planting in public spaces, those benefits, it also helps the most people benefit because it is in places where people gather, parks and public facilities and on public land. So the most people have the opportunity to benefit from that increased tree canopy, improved health outcomes, and all those great things that we know exist for trees. So it's about reducing extreme heat for sure, but it's also about improving public health, increasing neighborhood resilience, lowering energy costs, conserving water, and improving quality of life. So trees actually become infrastructure that delivers all of these triple bottom line benefits simultaneously. One exciting thing to note is we are currently creating Nevada's first climate nursery, and what that means is developing more of this heat resilience and green space infrastructure for the state. And we got some funding to create a pipeline of these species that we plant so that we are able to essentially steward them from starting with seeds, growing them into saplings, and growing them to the size we plant, which is about 15-gallon to 24-inch trees, so that there is an immediate shade impact. And we are doing that through contract growing at the Nevada Division of Forestry, but we're super excited about that project and to have trees to plant in about a year and a half. So that is our tree program and a quick overview of the environmental sustainability, our largest environmental sustainability program. There we go. The other thing I wanted to mention, since I said convening, one of the things we've been doing since inception of our organization, since 2009, our biggest program is ConveneNV. It is an annual sustainability summit where we really bring leaders together to talk about what we're doing well, celebrate those successes, build state and community pride, but also drive change in the areas of our most needed challenges. And so our next summit is October 8th. I do have a following slide for a snapshot of that, and we will be announcing that very soon. That is an opportunity to get involved. Anyone who is interested in attending, please consider that or mark it in your calendar. In addition to the annual event, we also hold monthly impact collaboratives in each area. So environmental, social, and economic, where we bring folks together to do a landscape mapping of what are our biggest strengths and weaknesses, what are our biggest gaps and opportunities as a state. And so that's something that you can see down there in that bottom table. We really looked at, for environmental, Nevada being a center of excellence for renewable energy. How do we really go back to the days of national leadership in that area and reclaim that mantle for the nation? And so we established a couple of possible priorities to reinforce those achievements as a model for the country, and also look at using that as a model or a issue area for statewide cohesion. For our social sustainability impact collabs, we were really looking at state funding from all sources really being disproportionately low. So in addition to reduced federal funds, we have less state funding than other states because of our funding and governance structures. And so that creates an opportunity to collaborate across social issue areas to make sure we are working together better to use the funds most appropriately and to create that social safety net for our most vulnerable citizens. And so we were looking at how do we coordinate responses across those sectors, and how do we work with local and state leaders to really be proactive instead of reactive to some of these issues. For our economic impact collab, we are looking at workforce pipelines, including basically connecting youth who aren't working with companies who want to hire and making sure that there are pathways there, and then also just coordinating workforce better in the state to make sure that we are diversifying our economy, having an economy that is really adaptive and responding to changing needs. And so that was some of the priorities that we are working on this year through monthly meetings, is coordinating those workforce development efforts. That doesn't mean that that isn't happening, but it's really how can collaboration fill in gaps and assist the leadership that is happening in the state to address the gap. And then priming Nevada for additional funds, specifically from the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense, to use our strengths as a state, things that we have in terms of resources and our opportunities to really take advantage of those for funding when it comes in so that we are ready to go. And so those were the priorities identified through our impact collabs that we're working on now monthly. It's another way to get involved if you're interested in any of those kind of big picture umbrella sustainability issues. And then our impact through 2025 with our ImpactNV annual summit has been, we have had 17 of these state meetings. We have had about 137 speakers over those 17 years, and those are from local, state, or national areas. We have had over 5,000 attendees attend over the years, and then many projects and programs that come out of those convenings and folks working together to address these needs. And so as just again a shameless plug for our next event, it is going to be on October 8th this year, and it will be at the Horseshoe Las Vegas in the afternoon. We will be announcing this and opening ticket sales this week, so hopefully everyone is interested in either attending that event or sharing that with your networks. In terms of social sustainability, this one might seem a bit out of nowhere for some folks. I know that we definitely get that comment sometimes, but again, what we really do is bring folks together and talk about where are the gaps in the state and where could we collaborate to fill a gap. And so what we had identified is that there was no statewide group working on policy to combat human trafficking, which is one of our larger social issues in the state. And so ImpactNV founded the Nevada Policy Council on Human Trafficking in 2020, just ahead of the 2021 legislative session. And the goal was to advocate for just and equitable policy solutions for the state. And so this allows us to have increase our convening and collaboration network with other entities that we wouldn't typically work with in, say, the environmental or economic sectors. We have representatives on the Policy Council. As you can see, we have 43 members across the state, but we have representatives from law enforcement, from the Attorney General's office. We have state and congressional lawmakers. We have healthcare, gaming, service providers, and we've also always been partially survivor-led. And so the focus of this group is on policy, so making sure that when we talk about systems change, that is going to almost always involve policy, because we need better collaboration, we need more funding, we need better data. All of those sort of long-term systemic changes take policy. And so the Policy Council is focused on creating better, stronger laws in our state to support victims, survivors of human trafficking, to decrease the demand for human trafficking, and to better support the system around basically data, funding, and hopefully work towards the ultimate elimination of human trafficking in Nevada. And so our 2025 impact for the Policy Council, you can see there is we do have about 43 members across Nevada. We did have 2 policy wins in 2025, but that would add to the 10 we've had since 2021. And so we have actually helped pass 12 bills since the Policy Council has started. We were able to secure an additional allocation of funding for the Human Trafficking Victims Fund of $200,000 to a previous $1 million funding that goes directly to supporting victims in the state through service providers. And so that is the high-level area of where we are working in our biggest program on social sustainability. In terms of community health, and this is also where you can see the triple bottom line converge here. It is an environmental program. It's also very much a social program. We partnered with a few organizations in 2022 through 2024 to do a program called Buen Aire para Todos, which is a air quality program that we launched in partnership with Make the Road Nevada, the Library District, the EPA, Desert Research Institute, and the City of Las Vegas. And the goal of the program is to address one of the biggest problems we have in our state. And so we had identified air quality as one of the bigger environmental programs, and the region in southern Nevada with the worst air quality is actually East Las Vegas, because of geography, but also because of where it exists with the convergence of the spaghetti bowl and various other factors from emissions, lack of green space, all of those things. And so what we did was we deployed air quality sensors, actually about 60 of them in the community. You can see the map here in the bottom left is where those sensors were located. And they were put in homes, indoor, and homes and businesses, outdoor on businesses, and in public spaces. And then we had mobile air sensors that were actually deployed amongst folks working at street level, selling food and beverage in East Las Vegas. And we collected that data of the air quality. It's measured through these devices in the center picture there called Purple Air, and they measure the particulate matter in the air in real time, and folks can track it on an app. They can see it displayed in the color on the device, and we did that for 2 years and collected the data and worked with researchers at DRI to put that data together and make recommendations to the City of Las Vegas that could essentially be used for the whole region in southern Nevada to improve air quality, improve housing stock, and really give folks a place of respite, somewhere to go when we do have poor air quality days outside. What are the actions that residents experiencing that could take to hopefully get away from it, improve their health outcomes. And so right now, even though that program, that funding has ended, what we are doing with the program now is working on implementing the recommendations so that we can hopefully continue to improve air quality for the region and for the state. And so the impact there, you can see in the box, was the number of residents that we engaged in East Las Vegas. In addition to the 60 devices, we also did educational events, focus groups, and got feedback from the community on real life experiences day to day, especially people working outdoors, taking public transit, using pedestrian routes where there's just not a lot of green space. And so there was a lot more education done around one, capturing information on what they experience day to day, but what they can do to hopefully improve conditions as they go about their day to day work life and enjoying their parks and things like that. So the meetings we had, the focus groups, the events hosted, and the recommendations are all listed there on the right. So why we measure impact, why it matters. We don't just measure success by activities and programs. It really is about making sure that we are measuring our outcomes, measuring our impact. As I mentioned, we do have an impact report. It can be found on our website, which is impact-nv.org. You can see all of our programming for the past year and the impacts that they have all made. But the importance of every project, including measurable goals, making sure that we are working towards those guiding principles, working towards an improved community and state for all residents. Every partnership is built around shared accountability. Who's the leader? What are we doing to move the dial? And our goal isn't just simply convening those conversations like we do with our annual event. It's driving action for change in between, and making sure that we have good things to report out each year and are addressing the biggest, most critical issues in real time to create that lasting impact. And so that's really the goal with our programs there. And then, why, right? Like, why does it matter? Everything we've discussed points towards one outcome, that Nevada is healthier, stronger, more resilient. When environmental, social, and economic priorities are aligned, obviously everyone benefits through better health, cooler neighborhoods, cleaner air, safer communities, a stronger economy. All that leads to a more resilient Southern Nevada for all of us. And so for ImpactNV, sustainability isn't a project, just a department, or only environmental. It's how communities can come together to solve these complex challenges. And so we build partnerships, convene stakeholders, create accountability, implement these projects and others, measure those outcomes, and then steward the relationships and the resources over decades. And so that's really what we're trying to do here and build Nevada's future together. And so if you're interested in doing that with us, there are many ways to partner. You can join any of the impact collabs based on your area of interest. You can participate in our programs. You can participate in our annual event on October 8th. You can volunteer. The biggest volunteer opportunity is with our tree plantings. We do try to have 2 community volunteer tree planting events every year. That's around Earth Day and Nevada Day. So we will have one coming up at the end of October. And then obviously collaborating. So if you work with an entity that would make sense to partner on any of these programs or others that you see as a gap in the state or an area that needs additional attention, please reach out. Be more than happy to work with you if we aren't already. And then obviously, as I mentioned, attending Convene NV. So I think that's right about time for questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lauren, for sharing all about ImpactNV's amazing efforts. I will now pull up some audience questions. First question, where are the trees sourced for the program and how can individuals volunteer to plant the trees?
Great question. Thank you. Currently, we are sourcing from local nurseries because we do need trees that are a certain size, as I mentioned. So the lowest size that we plant is 15-gallon. We try to do at least 24-inch or even 36-inch trees so that there is an immediate shade impact and there is an increase to the tree canopy in the state. So we in Southern Nevada, that tends to be Star Nursery, but we have a couple other nursery partners up in Northern Nevada. There's a nursery called Moana. And so they source the species that we need, and we work with the local jurisdictions, especially the urban and municipal foresters, to identify the best species from our lists that they need for each project so that they're being very cognizant of not creating a monoculture, trying new species next to others, see what survives the best, things like that. But they are currently sourced from local nurseries in the state. However, I did mention we are starting our own climate nursery. So in as soon as about a year and a half from now, we will be able to source our own trees that we have developed from seeds. In terms of getting involved, just go to our website. You can sign up. There's an area that says contact, and you can send it to info@ImpactNV or just do it through the website and let us know that you want to participate in a tree planting. Would love to have you. If you are looking for trees, there are other programs that do residential tree giveaways that we'd be happy to connect you to. But if you have a specific area of town, especially a public space that you know needs more trees, we can communicate that to our planting partners and try to identify those areas for future tree plantings.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. We just have 3 more questions for you. Who can join the Nevada Policy Council for Human Trafficking?
It's possible for anyone to join. We do have an application because we want to make sure that there is some area of knowledge or expertise as it relates to either human trafficking or policy. You don't necessarily have to have both, but if you have any experience, knowledge, interest in those areas, we have an application that just asks about that, what sector you come from or represent, your interest in joining, and then we have a basic sort of a code of conduct that you have to agree to. And once that's done, that gets sent to me, and then that goes to our council to approve, and then you can be a member. But I'm happy to share the application again if you want to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you. And then next question is, what are ImpactNV's goals for the next few years?
Those are really being guided by our impact collaboratives right now. And so I think I shared a few of those. Right now, on the economic side, we are looking at gaps in the workforce development space and how we can help better coordinate, better move towards economic diversification, which we've been talking about for decades, and really hopefully start to expand that, especially with new opportunities around, say, critical minerals, AI data centers. That's a big topic right now. All of those sort of changing critical needs. And that would be for economic. For environmental, we are looking at 4 priorities. Next generation water stewardship. So obviously Southern Nevada Water Authority is globally known for their leadership in water conservation. But we also know that, we are still in a drought. We still need to conserve. What's the next step of that? What does water conservation look like for the next 20 or 30 years in our community? And how could our collaboratives really help push that forward? Whether that's continuing to educate the community, especially new residents who haven't lived here as long and aren't as aware of the continuing challenge we have in that area, working with businesses for, say, dry cooling and all kinds of things like that. So whether that's a blueprint or a roadmap or just continuing education and supporting the water authority's goals, that's one we're looking at. We are also looking at the implications of AI and data centers and how that impacts our state. So the water, energy, land nexus there. And we are looking at the funding for public transportation transportation, which has been underfunded for years. What could our collaborative do to help support that so that we can increase public transportation and address the federal fiscal cliff for transportation in our community? So those are just some of the ideas. They are really guided by, again, our guiding principles and our impact collabs, where we bring leaders together and say, what are the biggest needs? What are our strengths? How do we move our strengths to address those needs? So they are always evolving, but they're guided by our guiding principles, and the ultimate goal is a more sustainable Nevada. So that probably was kind of all over the place, but hopefully that gives you some ideas.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Lauren. Last question is, how can I stay updated with Impact NV's news and events?
Yeah, we have a sign up on our website, again, impact-nv.org. And there is a sign up submission link for our newsletter, which we try to do quarterly and definitely increases around Convene NV. You'll get even more news then, but at least quarterly updates on what we're doing, any program updates, any possible events, opportunities to volunteer for tree plantings and things like that. So, yeah, just look at the website and sign up there.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That is all the questions we have for today. Before we go, I'd like to share just a few upcoming events. Tomorrow we have our Solar and Battery 101 for our new Switch Together program, which is a group buy-in program giving residents access to no obligation competitive pricing on rooftop solar, battery storage, and EV charging. So if you want to learn more about that, you could join us at the West Las Vegas Library. The sign up is just below if you scroll down past this webinar. We also have the rest of the year left for our webinar series, so one webinar per month on different sustainability topics. And again, they're all available to register at allinclarkcounty.com/events. On that page, you could also find our newsletter. Our social media is at Clark County DES, and those are, just a few ways you can stay involved with different resources, events, and programs. But that is it for today's webinar. So thank you all so much for joining us and taking the opportunity to learn more about local sustainability efforts. And another special thank you to Lauren for the presentation and all the amazing efforts and helpful information that you provided. But that is it for today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.